Hey there, welcome to That Dang Dad. My name is Phil, and it's been a while. I actually have a very good reason why I haven't uploaded a video in a long time, though. Anyway, tonight I wanted to try something a little different. I don't have the emotional energy to be on film right now, so enjoy some clips and hilarious cuts and all that. Last night I felt like watching a big stupid action flick, and it occurred to me that it's a total dad movie. And bam, what could be more on brand for this channel than talking about dad movies? So, without further ado, last night I watched the 1988 masterpiece Red Heat, starring Arnold Schwarzenegger and Jim Belushi. As a kid, Arnold was my favorite actor, but somehow I'd never seen Red Heat before. The premise is as follows. Arnie plays Captain Danko, a straight-laced, no-nonsense police officer in Soviet Russia. A cocaine smuggler kills his partner and escapes to the US to set up a huge deal to smuggle drugs into Russia. Danko travels to Chicago and hooks up with Detective Art Ridzik, a foul-mouthed dirtbag cop. The two don't get along, but when the smuggler kills Ridzik's partner, the two set aside their differences and bring him to justice. The first thing I want to say is that the credit sequence is amazing. Anyway, there's lots of ways to watch films. You can sit back and let them wash over you, you can critique the technical craft, and so on. One of my favorite things to do is to treat the opening scene as the key to the movie and see what it unlocks. And Red Heat totally delivers on this method. The film opens on a Russian bathhouse or gymnasium complex or something, and it's got all these beefy boys in there clanging iron. And Danko is pretending to be a factory worker to get in there, but the people in the bathhouse say that his hands are too soft, and they make him hold a hot coal to prove that he's worked in a steel mill before. The entire opening sequence, the camera's caressing all these muscular bodies of the men in the bathhouse and reveling in their strength and form. So based on this, I decided to watch Red Heat with the concept of bodies in mind. And when I did, I noticed that this theme comes up a lot in the film in some provocative ways. Now, to contextualize what I'm about to talk about, it's important to remember Red Heat came out in the middle of the Cold War, and a lot of the tension in the film is dedicated to America versus the USSR, or more fundamentally, capitalism versus communism. Thus, Red Heat revolves a lot around two cops posturing for each other, seeing whose economy is bigger. In fact, a central conflict in the film is Danko's unwillingness to share information with Ridzik, explicitly because the USSR does not want to be humiliated or emasculated on the world stage. Red Heat seems to be very interested in what the system does to bodies. Captain Danko represents the Soviet Union, the army of communists marching in machine-like lockstep, precision, conformity. Detective Ridzik, on the other hand, represents the United States, an army of consumers grazing on excess, libido, individuality. Danko doesn't eat, he doesn't drink, he does not flirt, he does not complain. Ridzik is almost constantly doing all of these things. But this is all kind of surface level stuff. I mean, when you're looking for it, the film is talking about bodies constantly. For example, Danko finds cocaine in a gangster's fake leg. Danko gets concussion during a fight. Ridzik's boss has a fish tank to manage his stress because he just had heart surgery. Ridzik stares at a woman's body and then says, I'm a man. I notice boobs. Danko puts a coin in his motel TV to reveal porn, to which he replies, capitalism. Danko's partner references them both being circumcised. Ridzik implies the fact that Danko has a parakeet at his home is feminine, and this distresses Danko. Danko causes Ridzik to spill coffee in his lap, and Ridzik implies that he's burned his dick off. Danko threatens to castrate a drug dealer and pluck his eyes out, but the drug dealer's already blind, and so on and so on.
And so on and so on. Bad communists and so on. Exploit us and so on and so on.
In the world of red heat, law and order require threats against and trauma to the human body. And I think my favorite example of this comes from the interrogation scene. See, Ridzik has a tip that this crooked informant might know about the impending drug deal. He explains to Danko that in the US, prisoners have rights, and you can't just torture a confession out of them legally. Ridzik proceeds to bribe the man and then plants heroin on him to coerce a confession. When this doesn't work, Danko coldly breaks the man's hand and tortures a confession out of him. Ridzik later lies to his boss and says that the injury happened accidentally when a door slammed shut on the man's hand. To me, this is the ideology at work in red heat when it comes to bodies. In the world of red heat, communism forges bodies. It hardens bodies. It breaks bodies in order to gain control. Capitalism finds this distasteful and in deference to liberty and freedom, instead seduces, pollutes, incarcerates, and deceives bodies to gain control. Both are manipulative. One is overt, the other covert. Interestingly, for an American film from 1988, Red Heat does not really pass judgment on this or indicate the superiority of either mode of control. In fact, the only people held accountable for their treatment of bodies are the drug dealers, who are all ethnic minorities in their respective countries. Huh. By the end of the film, every single co-conspirator has been shot to death in public rather than apprehended, and the two cops have a newfound respect for each other, and they part as friends. Apart from all that, it's a pretty good action flick. I think Schwarzenegger and Belushi play off each other well. I think there's some good action scenes, good car chases, good gunfights, good scenes of sleazy 80s Chicago. Everything's pretty fun. It's all just the right amount of corny to enjoy. I give it 4 out of 5 dads. Anyway, have you seen Red Heat? Am I way off about the body stuff? Let me know in the comments. Go ahead and like this video 4 or 5 times on various burner accounts if you don't mind. Subscribe to it if you're nasty. Go ahead and click the bell so that you know when I post another video in like 9 to 12 months. Anyway, sincerely, thank you for watching, and I really do hope that you are safe and healthy and keeping sane out there. Please take care of yourself, and have a good night.